welcome back to another episode on the Solent Warrior. Don't know if you can hear these foghorns. We're not really sure where we are at the moment. We're out in the middle of the sea somewhere. It is like thick fog. We've got about 10 metres visibility, which makes for good fun trying to get to your marks because you're just working off a plotter. So today we are going to shoot down to Needles. We're going to see if the bass are here yet. I really hope they are, because we've got some new lures to be used that are coming out in the next 3 weeks from Sidewinder. The Scaries Pro. And we need to put them through their paces with the bass. So we're going to shoot down to the Needles. We're going to see if we can pick out some fish. I don't think there'll be numbers there. I think we'll end up maybe finding one or two decent sized fish. And then we're going to drop back onto some sandbanks. If you've watched the previous video, you know that the place are now in. And we're going to see if we can find some place. Possibly a turbot.
I said nothing of the sort. 'Cause my blood's red like yours. But it's time to get higher and higher, higher and higher, just like before.
Right, well, that's sun again. Right, we're down the Needles, but unfortunately, we're going to be flogging a dead horse here today because I don't know if you can see. Let me show you the water clarity here. We've got a big 4.8 metre tide locally, which is probably the second biggest tide of the year. But we haven't had any rain for the last week or so, but I think we've had a very wet winter, and I think the silt hasn't quite settled properly, and then this big tide is moving all the silt around. And I mean, let me show you the clarity of the water. So that said lure, if you send it half a foot, look Don, the clarity is just terrible, and it's, yeah, the camera's not going to do it justice, I don't think, but this looks like the Bristol Channel. Now, you will catch bass on lures in this sort of conditions, but you need to really put the work in, and you need to be sending there. Is that you down there, or is that a fish?
That might be me.
Just show you, this is the sounder, in about 26 foot at the moment. That's overhead. Well, that's a fish. But you'd need to be pulling that. Yeah, there's fish on the bottom, Ed. Have a little flick down there. We can get the lure right past their face. They'll pick up on the vibration and the rattle inside these new scary lures. Oh, I'm on the bottom. They will pick up on the vibrations, but it's going to be very difficult. Generally, if you want to catch bass in water this coloured, you're going to need to be using live baits, because it could just sit down there. You'll send it round on a float, and there's a chance that the bass will come across it, pick up on a fish in distress, gobble it down. But yeah, it's going to be very hard work in this. What I could try is, at the moment, I've got a white lure on. What I could probably do, most bass fishermen will know this, but I always say, in bright conditions, use a bright lure. In dull conditions, or dark, we'll need a dark lure. So if I went with something like the dusk, That might be enough just to give a little bit of a silhouette through this dark water. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it's a fish on the bottom right now, Ed. We've got to be really careful here because there's like a big back eddy that's drawing us into the rocks. What we're now, 24 foot still. It'll fly up to about 7 foot in a minute. If I don't tie this lure on quick, we're gonna be stuffed. Right, so I've just put on a different colour. We are marking a few fish on the sounder. Anyone that wants to do what we're doing, fishing down on these rocks around the needles, you need to be very, very careful. At the moment, we've got a flooding tide. So that is, tide is flying through the needles into the Solent at the moment. And what that will cause in these corners causes a big back eddy. So you think you're going to be drifting away from the needles, you get caught in them back eddies, it will draw you straight in onto the rocks. So you need the engine ticking over. Oh, it's so cold. You need the engine ticking over, and you need to be on them charts, watching your depth, and just making sure that you're safe. At the moment, we're only drifting at 0.5 of a knot. So we've been caught up in the back eddy a little bit, so it's not spitting us towards the rocks. Eddie's snagged. So he's not allowed any more of them lures. Just loosen off and just give it a twang every now and then, just see if you can spit the lure around. How far towards the rocks are you, Snagged? Hey? Could I get to it, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, that's likely there.
Right, let's just see. Right, the lure's there, yeah? Oh, I'm going to come round again now. Keep it tight. Right, so we're going to be behind it in a sec. Oh my god, 10 foot. Shit.
There you go.
You got it? I'm on 7 foot, 6 foot.
Pinnacle, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's up on the shelf. That was dangerous, but we're out of there. We'll do this for 5 minutes, just so we can say we've tried. And in a minute, we'll run down to a local mark that I know that should hold place, raise, bass. I don't know what it's going to be like in this horrible chocolate water, but if you watched last week's video, you would have seen that I still managed to pick out a single place in some pretty dirty water. Right, we're just getting set up on the mark. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing. If I can untangle it all. Right, we're just getting set up on the mark. We've stuck the anchor in. And this is a mark that should hold place, bass, and hopefully some rays, but also an outside chance of a turbot. So we've got Ed fishing primarily for the rays and turbot. And I'm just using a 3-hook flapper rig, ragworm on 2 bottom hooks, then a nice little bit of belly mackerel meat on the top hook. Just if there is some turbot around. At the moment, we've got a little bit of wind that's northerly, and we've got an east run of tide, so it's just keeping us slightly off fishing out the back of the boat. So we're fishing slightly off the corner a little bit. What I've done, that's getting bites already while I'm holding it. Good. Because there's a chance of big painted rays and big blonde rays in here, you always make sure you keep your drag quite loose, because especially when you're using light, I mean that's a heavy spinning setup that I'm using, so it can handle a little bit of weight, but you don't want something tearing off when you're not looking and parting the light line. So leave a nice little bit of drag. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up 2 light rods, and I'm going to be fishing with flapper rigs in the hope of the place. I can still catch turbot on that, not a problem. Ed's going to be fishing with the boat gear, and he's going to be fishing fish baits, squid baits. We've got peeler crab, we've got sand eel, we've got prawn, we've got all sorts of bits and bobs. So he's going to be ideally looking for, mainly looking for the bigger fish, while I'm trying to scratch out the smaller fish. Right, we have got all 4 rods in the water. We're fishing in 42 foot of water. There is a series of 3 sandbars where we're fishing. What I tried doing is anchoring up on the top of the sandbar, so I'm fishing down the back of it. Now, because of this wind and tide situation, it's going to be really, really difficult to get that, because we're going to be swinging on and off of it. So at the moment, we're sat sort of just behind one, so it's still good. If you want to be hot behind things, so quite often fish will try and get out of the tide by getting behind the sandbars. That's what I've always found, and they'll run across the top of them, and yeah. So we are starting to see fish on a sounder. There is a good chance we will get pestered by small whiting on this mark, but I've been struggling to find whiting this year, so which is a good thing. Like I said, I've set up Ed with the 2 rods. He's set up with quite bigger baits, so rays and turbot, bass and things like that. And I've set up 2 heavy spinning rods, and we're fishing with ragworm, and I've got little tips of squid on some of them. I've got fish bait on some of them, so it's just mixing it up. We're just scratching around and seeing what we can find. There may be place here, there may be turbot, we just don't know yet, so it's very early on this season. Fingers crossed there's a few big place, that's what I want. And look what we found on the way here, a Lamborghini football. Hey, just starting to pick up a bite on this inside spinning rod. What we'll do is just give it a little bit of line, because if that is a place, sometimes it takes them a little while to get the hook in the mouth. So I'll just let out maybe 10 metres of line, and that lead will start rolling back. Sometimes induces the fish to take the bait a little bit more violently as well. It's been getting a couple of bites. Just reeling in. It looks like there's a bit of weight there. And it's the first fish of the day. And it's a stinky, poopy dogfish. Oh, there's them jiggles again, look. Yeah, that looks good. I'll try and sit on my hands with that. Just that inside rod looks. A dogfish bite's going to be bong, 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 bong. These are little little rattles. So it's either a small whitey and small pal, or there's place sniffing about. What I've done with this lighter rod is I've just sent it right up tide. It's got the lightest lead on, and I'm just letting it drift down through the sandbanks. Sometimes that can pull some fish with it. So if it goes past a few places, they'll follow that up. And then once it swings round to the back of the boat and the bait's stationary in the tide and they're wriggling in the tide, hopefully picks out a fish. Keep banging on about this little toasty maker. But I'm telling you now, if you've got a boat and you haven't got one of these on there, you are missing out.
It's the only reason I'm here.
It's the only reason Ed's here. Is to eat cheese toasties out on boat. Out on boat. A fine Monday morning. Dinner. You know the rules. There you go, Ted.
Oh, big up the cheese toasty.
Big up cheese toasty.
It's so miraculous.
Big up the cows.
Oh, big up the hot.
Big up the pigs for the ham. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a numpty called Bevo on Instagram and TikTok, and he's the thickest TikToker. Google it and thank me for the hatred that you'll have later. Hear it sizzling away. Now that is a welcome treat when you're out on a cold boat.
This is Solent Coast Guard, you're allowed to clear over.
Cheese toasty is always going to bring on a fish. You know the rules.
Such an idiot.
Big up the ragwort.
Don't watch his videos, you only give him more fuel to his stupid fire.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'll leave it. Leave that one. Did look like a dogfish bite, mind you. Right, that bite's not really come to anything, so I am going to check the bait on it. Where's that wind come from? There is a fish on there.
Bit of weight there.
We all know what this is going to be, though, don't we?
We dreaded.
We all know what this is going to be. Fuck off. No way.
Oh, that's a beast.
Wow. Well, if you saw last week's video, you would have seen the size of the dogfish I was catching. Are you kidding me right now? That literally is out of the sack today.
Oh, that's quite cute, really.
That's what I was saying on the last one. It's actually a mad little you know, once I get to that size, then I'd bloody dogfish. But that is possibly, no, that is the smallest dogfish I've ever caught. Not possibly. Just while I was on the phone to Mr. Locker, Ed is sneakily in the background catching something that looks like it's not a dogfish.
It's probably a dogfish.
I don't know, that's looking... it's a... it's a bloody dogfish. It's a bloody dogfish. Ed, show him how big it is, because it's a relatively big dogfish. I mean, most of my videos have to start with this, so you're going to have to all put up with us catching dogfish. Oh, you didn't even hook him. Just holding on to the bait. It's a dogfish. We'll have no more of them, please. Ed's catching all of the dogfish at the moment. I think I'm in on the party. Feels like a dogfish. Just got to fight through them, unfortunately, when you're bait fishing.
Beauty.
Unfortunately, every one of my videos has to start.
It's the final boss of dogfish, though.
It's the final, yeah. It has to start with dogfish. It's the rules. You know the rules. So now the tide, now the boat has swung round. We had about 5 dogfish through the flood, which is pretty poor fishing for here. No other species at all. We did have a few rattly bites from a few bits and bobs, but we'll never know what that was. So what they always say is 2 tides are never the same. So we had a shit flood, but when it swings round and we get the west run, we might end up finding lots of nice fish. So what we'll probably do is fish this run for maybe an hour and a half. If we haven't picked up anything decent, we'll pull up the anchor and head to a different mark. We haven't got a great deal of variety where we are fishing at the moment because of the big tides. So we can only do what we can do. Right. Well, we've got our first fish of this ebbing tide. I really hope it's not a dogfish. Starting to feel like a dogfish. Yeah, that's going to be a dog. Unbelievable, Jack. This is becoming... How can that not be catching? You got a bite there, Ed?
Yeah, I saw that.
Just sending it up tide like I was earlier. Letting out a load of line. Just letting it trot down through the sandbars. Hopefully, that's the best way to catch dogfish. Just dogfish after the dogfish. Bloody thing. Get this anchor pulled. There's another little mark on our way home. Let's go see if we can drop in there for half an hour, 45 minutes or so. And I'm tied still. And got a fish on it. Last cast of the day. Last cast of the day. Oh. Fucking hundreds of pound dogfish. You're not even gonna, don't know why I'm showing the camera, because you're not even gonna see this video. Well, that's the reality of a fishing YouTube channel. Sometimes you just can't find the fish, especially this time of year when it's sort of end of winter season, beginning of summer season or spring, and the winter fish are on there have gone. The spring fish haven't quite arrived yet, but it is what it is. I mean, some of the videos that you'll see through my channel, that'll be me trying to get a video 3 days in a row, 3 sessions out on the boat before I can find a day that is worth you guys watching. But we've got a good end to this video. So yesterday I popped down to Plymouth to meet John from the Fish Locker. He needed a hand with something, so I popped down to give him a hand, and he has paid me, without dropping them all, I say paid me, he's brought some scallops with him to give to me, because there is nothing I like more than Cornish scallops. Now, I've already chucked these ones and got them ready for preparation. But these ones in here, I've still kept three. The size of some of these ones. I've still kept 3. So I can prepare these for you on camera. It's going to be a little bit difficult to film actually, but we'll see how we go. So all we need is a short, sharp knife. Now, okay, I'm going to have to do it. These will still have a little bit of water in. All you do is you go in at the back here and you keep it tight to the flat shell. So if I show you, I'll go in like that. This is going to be really hard to film. So in like that, I keep that super flat to that shell. That opens that up. Flat shell can go. And then you're left, drain that out a little bit. Then you're left with the frill and the mussel there. The mussel is what you want. So if you pick this out, that frill, without stripping it everywhere, and then just pull all of that off, you are left with, sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, you are left with just that little bit of mussel meat. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare these with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of butter in the shells, and a little bit of hot sauce on some of them. And then I'll be putting them under the grill. See if I can show you that one more time. So there's your scallop. I'll go in right at the back and then keep it as close to the flat shell as you can. That opens it up. And then all you need to do is pick around that frill And then pull all of that frill out. You don't want that. That's what it's filtered. When it's feeding, that's what filters. And you're just left with that little scallop in the middle. This is as easy as it gets. So all I'm going to do is a little bit of butter. I say a little bit. A decent amount of butter per scallop. Nice little chunks. Scallop, whatever you want to call it. But a little chunk of butter in each one. And then, I've just got some lazy garlic, because I'm a lazy bastard. A little spoonful of garlic in each one. You can buy scallops from your local fishmongers, no problem. They're expensive, mind you, but they're worth it. Now, these ones are all going to have a little splash of hot sauce in each one. Because I do like spice. Some people don't. It's completely up to you whether you put it on or not. But garlic, butter, and a little splash of hot sauce is proper nice. Now that is all ready to go. I'm just going to put them under the grill for probably 2 to 3 minutes max. Like I said, 2 or 3 minutes, and they're going to come out absolutely perfect. And you've got to have a bit of crusty bread to mop up that spicy, buttery juice that fills them shells. They've just gone in. While we're waiting for these ones to cook in here, these ones have just been prepared. I've not put any hot sauce for these ones, just a lashing of butter and a big lump of garlic. These are going to be mint. That is them out of the oven. That's why you put loads of butter in, so you've got something to dip your bread in after. Now these are going to be super hot. The shells are going to be well hot, but let's just be quick. Ooh. That is going to be mint. They're going to be so hot, but that's what you're looking for. It's going to burn the out of my mouth. You cannot beat Cornish scallops. Like I said, you got a bit of crusty bread to dip in that garlic, butter, hot sauce that you've created. Oh, unreal. Kudos to Mr. Locker for bringing these with him yesterday for me. Right. I'm going to get the rest of these cooked. I've got 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 10 scallops to eat. And I'm going to eat them all because my missus don't eat this sort of thing. Which suits me down to the ground. It's been a hard video fishing, but we finished on a high. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, because it's a massive help to me. It's completely free, and it means we can pump out a lot more videos for you boys and girls. See you on the next one.